of these payment networks are disconnected. The banks, the potential to use blockchain, mobile money when we're using Venmo or Zelle or something, which is a fancy Ferrari body on a jalopy engine, these online wallets, none of this stuff is connected. But blockchain doesn't solve this problem on its own because you're not connecting all these other networks that people use to manage their money or to move their money. But this inner networking of payments with banks and blockchain and mobile money and all online wallets can work when it's all stitched together. What's the way to stitch it together? The Interledger protocol. So another thing that we use is an open source protocol called the Interledger protocol, and it connects all these different ledgers. It's an important part. So the ILP is an open protocol. There's lots of individuals, a community group working on this Interledger protocol to build this global network. There are over 275 contributors to it, from banks, central banks, such as the Bank of England working on this, a Saudi bank working on this, payment companies, big tech companies working on this, such as Google, consulting companies, blockchain companies, and Ripple's right in the thick of using this Interledger protocol with our software and using XRP to move money across borders, move value across borders.
Another one that it got some attention, but I particularly am very excited about, is we added the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, the central bank of Saudi Arabia, as a customer of Ripple's. And they joined Bank of England as a customer, as a central bank engaging with us. And that also has really great secondary and tertiary impacts in working with the ecosystem throughout the Middle East. And so
it's more than a stamp of approval. They've got the connections on the rails there in the Middle East.
Right, and they see that we're moving from an analog to digital nature in terms of cross-border payment flows, and they obviously leaned in and joined with us. So, Ripple has from the earliest days invested in engaging regulators. And, when we go to Washington, D.C., we go to other regulatory bodies around the world and explain, we aren't circumventing a KYC check, a know your customer check. We aren't circumventing an AML, anti-money laundering check. We aren't circumventing BSA. Oh, there's lots of three-letter acronyms. I'll stop there. But look, the Bank of England is a paid customer of Ripple's. There's another central bank we haven't announced that we're working with very actively. We will continue to work with central banks. We'll continue to work with regulators and educating them about how we can accelerate the financial ecosystem, which is good on many, many, many levels, and not in some way circumvent and enable anonymous transactions that obviously the government has concerns about.
So authorities need to make some decisions. They need to decide whether to isolate, to regulate, or to integrate crypto assets into the financial system. A few jurisdictions have banned them outright, and some, most prominently China, have sealed them off from the core of their financial system. If widely adopted, however, isolation risks foregoing potentially major opportunities from the development of the underlying technologies. A better path, I'd suggest, would be to regulate elements of the cryptocurrency ecosystem to combat those illicit activities, promote market integrity, and protect the safety and soundness of the financial system. Indeed, the time has come to hold the crypto asset ecosystem to the same standards as the rest of the financial system. Being part of the financial system brings enormous privileges, but also great responsibilities. Their core technology is already having a major impact, and bringing crypto assets into the regulatory tent could potentially catalyze innovations to better serve the public. Indeed, crypto assets help point the way to the future of money in three respects. First, by suggesting how money and payments will need to adjust to society's changing preferences. Secondly, through the possibilities their underlying technologies offer to transform the efficiency, reliability, and flexibility of payments. And thirdly, by the questions they raise about whether central banks should provide a central bank digital currency accessible to all. And I want to take these in turn. First, crypto assets are part of a broader reorganization of the economy and society into a series of distributed peer-to-peer connections across powerful networks. People are increasingly forming connections directly, instantaneously, and openly, and this is revolutionizing how we consume, work, and communicate. Yet the financial system continues to be organized largely around a series of hubs like banks, payments, clearings, and settlement systems. And crypto assets are an attempt to create the financial architecture for peer-to-peer transactions. So even if the current vintage isn't the final answer, it is throwing down the gauntlet to the existing payment system. And these existing systems must evolve to meet the demands of fully reliable, real-time distributed transactions. The second challenge of crypto assets is their underlying technology, obviously particularly distributed ledger, which can do many things. It can increase the efficiency of managing data, improve the resilience by eliminating central points of failure, enhance the transparency and auditability of transactions, and expand the use of straight-through processing, including with smart contracts that automatically update and, if appropriate, pay. These properties mean that distributed ledger technology could transform everything from how people manage their interactions with public institutions to how businesses manage their supply chains. Now, the third challenge is that crypto assets raise the obvious question about whether their infrastructure could be combined with the trust inherent in existing fiat currencies to create a central bank digital currency, or CBDC. Now, currently, only banks can hold electronic central bank money. To be truly transformative, a general purpose CBDC would have to open access to everyone. And the Bank of England has an open mind about the development of a CBDC and an active research program dedicated to it. That said, given the technological shortcomings in distributed ledger technologies at present, and the risks with offering central bank accounts for all, a truly widely available and reliable CBDC does not appear to be a near-term prospect. Over the past 4 years, the payment-related costs that your publican or bookseller pay and ultimately pass on to you has come down by about 40% to about 8p per transaction. Well, these are small and, as I said earlier, much better than Bitcoin. They remain non-negligible, and that's partly because there's relatively limited scope for them to be competed away by innovators due to restricted access to the US or the UK's major bank-to-bank payment system known as Faster Payments. Now, the good news is that non-bank payment providers, PSPs, can now access RTGS, and we expect the first of them to do so directly this spring to help drive costs down and service up. So what can that mean? Well, innovative PSPs can deliver a world where you can split around in the pub electronically and instantaneously, needing nothing more from your friends than a QR code on their phone or their mobile number. By doing so, electronic money is effectively becoming much more like its physical relative, allowing genuine, immediate peer-to-peer transactions without the need for a middleman. Our overhaul of RTGS is helping to reduce complexity and costs in other areas, such as cross-border payments, where the bank is leading the efforts of other central banks and the private sector to use central bank money in cross-border payments through synchronized RTGS systems. When coupled with capture of richer payments data that will be made possible by the renewal of RTGS, the system will also help support innovative services for the more effective management of personal and company finances, benefits that will be amplified by the application of open banking. Finally, at the wholesale payments end, the bank believes that the distributed ledger technology could potentially save tens of billions of capital, pounds of capital, currently tied up in settlement, while settlement completes. And while the best of the private sector are working hard to find ways to unlock this value, that tens of billions of capital, the bank is building the new RTGS so that forms of security settlement, including those that use distributed ledger technology, will be able to plug in directly. So let me conclude. So while Adam Smith was famously cautious about the role of the state, he recognized that it should furnish the rules and conditions within which private innovation can flourish. In the monetary sphere, this means providing money which citizens can use with confidence and ease. And the Bank of England delivers just that, from the quality of our banknotes to the stability of our inflation, the resilience of our financial system, and the efficiency and reliability of our core payment system. As we do so, we're overhauling that core payment system, RTGS, so that private innovation can flourish. And by bringing crypto assets onto a level regulatory playing field, we can help catalyze a more resilient, effective, and innovative payment system. With all of these foundations in place, the scene is set for better payments, a better economy, and a better Friday night out. So with that, I will thank you.
Do cryptocurrencies undermine the bank's ability to regulate financial markets, or do they represent new opportunities?
Yeah, well, I listed many of the challenges with crypto assets, so I think I'll focus my answer on the opportunities. And I think the opportunities are that they point the way to where the system has to go to be able to enable these peer-to-peer transactions, distributed transactions, the first thing. And then secondly, they provide some of the underlying technology, or they provide an underlying technology that can be used in many of the solutions. And we're working hard. We've been working with DL technology, distributed ledger technology, for about 5 years. We are creating a system, the core of the system, in a way that private innovation can plug into the system more readily to provide these types of services that crypto assets are trying to do. And I think, as I said in the speech, one of the very positive things about this flurry of activity in crypto assets is they really are throwing down the gauntlet of where the system needs to go, what it needs to provide. And in that regard, they are creating a lot of opportunities.
This is you're sitting in the pub doing the instantaneous
sitting in the
clearing
pub
of the
doing
round.
yes, I can't hide in the pub. I won't have the excuse of my usual, I left my wallet in my other coat excuse.
Issues that exist in the system. It's way too expensive to do domestic payments. It's way too slow, and that hurts consumers and businesses. It stifles innovation, and it's far too expensive to send money cross-border, and there are huge financial inclusion issues related to that and costs related to that. So while we're trying to address all these issues, we have to absolutely acknowledge the problem that they're trying to solve. And if it's not this, we better have some answers for what else it is. Because I mean, if nothing else, this serves the purpose of raising the bar of expectations of what our citizens deserve. But John.
Yeah.
This new economy is placing new demands on the financial system. Consumers and businesses increasingly expect transactions to be settled in real time and payments across borders to be indistinguishable from those across the street. And to help private innovation meet these demands, the bank is leveling the playing field between old and new. As you may know, until recently, only commercial banks had direct access to the core of the payment system, RTGS. And that made sense in an old world arranged around a series of hubs and spokes, but it's increasingly anachronistic in the new distributed finance that's emerging. So now we at the bank are making it easier for a broader set of firms to plug in and compete with banks. We're the first G20 central bank to do so.
We remain very vigilant about crypto assets. Equally, at the same time, we're positive about the technology underlying them, distributed ledger technology. This was something the FPC identified and something that we're continuing to work on. And as part of my role in embracing fintech across the Bank of England, we are looking at the potential for distributed ledger technology, for example, in the payments space. So we're making sure that our real-time gross settlement system can interface and be interoperable with blockchain DLT technology.